Malinche's story begins shrouded in misleadings, is one of the worst stories Toba remembered. But instead, it is one of those stories never forgotten in history. What I always heard was that Malinche was referred to as a traitor, and now you'll hear the true story, and don't get surprised. Evils and angels live and fight for survival since ancient times. Her birthplace was probably within the vast Aztec Empire, perhaps near present-day Veracruz, Mexico, a region rich in history and culture on the 1500s. She was given the name Malinali, a name linked to the Aztec goddess of grass, Malinalxochitl, symbolizing growth and resilience. This connection to a powerful deity hints at the importance placed on her birth, suggesting she was destined for greatness. Malinali's childhood was likely filled with the rich traditions and vibrant culture of her people, from colorful festivals to sacred rituals. She learned the Nahuatl language, the language of the Aztecs, and absorbed the stories and beliefs of her ancestors, which were passed down through generations. Little did she know that her life would soon take a dramatic turn, forcing her to navigate between two worlds on a collision course, the Aztec and the Spanish. Her story, often overshadowed by the Spanish conquest, is one of resilience, adaptation, and the enduring power of language. She became a bridge between cultures, a role that would define her legacy. The tragedy struck early in Malinali's life. Her lovely father, a local chieftain, died unexpectedly. This loss left a void in her life and weakened her family's social standing. Her mother, seeking to secure her future, remarried. However, this new marriage brought more hardship than hope. Malinali's stepfather, fearing she would interfere with the inheritance of his own children, made a devastating decision. He sold her into slavery. This betrayal by her own family thrust her into a world of uncertainty and fear. She was only a young girl, ripped from her home and thrust into the unknown. This experience would forever shape her destiny and set her on a path that would alter the course of history. Malinche, interpreting for the first time, showed her skills when Moctezuma, the Aztec emperor, in an attempt to dissuade them, sent a gift of gold upon the Spaniards' arrival. When she saw that both parties were confused and uncommunicated, then she interpreted the welcome speech and described the present with details. But what a huge mistake, because the visit was neither for free or sincere at all, and the indigenous people's naivety and blind couldn't see the Spaniards' ambition and bad intentions. They managed to get inside of Tenochtitlan and saw the treasure and wonders unimaginable before their eyes. Chambers full of gold, silver and gemstones converted into art, saved in memory of all the ancestors with respect and guarded. After they have been welcomed to stay, a master plan was prepared before the first night finish. Malinche dared to ask Hernan Cortés, "Why do you want the metal? If corn is way more valuable. We have survived for decades in droughts thanks to our corn. Trust me, it takes care of the most precious thing, your life." And she was ignored, of course. This encounter marked a turning point in her life and the fate of the Aztec Empire. Cortés quickly recognized Malinche's linguistic talents. She spoke Nahuatl, the language of the Aztecs, and Mayan, the language of their rivals. With the help of a priest who taught her Spanish, Jerónimo de Aguilar, who spoke Mayan and Spanish, Malinche became Cortés's interpreter. She was the crucial link between the Spanish conquistadors and the indigenous populations. Malinche's role extended far beyond simple translation. She became Cortés's advisor, confidant and cultural informant. She explained Aztec customs, political alliances and military strategies. Her insights proved invaluable to the Spanish, giving them a crucial advantage in their quest to conquer the Aztec Empire. She didn't have another option. She was there to help them or go back to be enslaved. Triumph and tragedy. The fall of the Aztec Empire. Guided by Malinche's intelligence, Cortés forged alliances with indigenous groups who resented Aztec rule. Together they marched towards the magnificent city of Tenochtitlan, the heart of the Aztec Empire. Malinche was by Cortez's side, facilitating negotiations and translating his pronouncements. The fall of Tenochtitlan in 1521 marked the end of the Aztec Empire. It was a brutal and bloody affair, a clash of civilizations with devastating consequences for the indigenous population. Malinche, the woman who had bridged two worlds, found herself at the center of this cataclysmic event. Let's talk about what La Malinche saw in Tenochtitlan before the fall or conquest. Moctezuma was doing a great job as emperor, and his people were well prepared. Among them were a peaceful community full of knowledge in mathematics, geometry, astronomists, agriculture, creators of Chinan Pas, floating gardens, great designer of causeways, architectural and engineering, extensive expertise on herbal medicine, arts and craftsmanship. They were excessively clean, starting with Moctezuma, who used to take 2 baths a day and washed his hands before and after a meal. She also saw that women were not considered valuable at all, since she was sold as slave and physically abused of all ways possible and so many times. But sadly, when the Spaniards came to Mexico, she witnessed her people being forced and humiliated. They threatened Moctezuma with killing his people if don't surrender, plus, of course, sharing part of treasures, work as slaves, and change the religion and beliefs as well. Moctezuma had to agree, or his people would perish if fighting against them. Everyone was afraid of all those new and unknown weapons. We are talking about cannons, gunpowder, swords and daggers, springs, rifles, horses and metal armors. The Moctezuma only requested to preserve their culture, names and last names as symbols of respect for their ancestral lineage. The Aztecs were not happy and agree with Moctezuma at all, but they respected him and waited for some time. They knew the truth will come out, and they were right. Spaniards wanted all the gold for themselves, and they planned to kill everyone who stood in their way, simple as that. But Aztecs, full of disappointment with all the lies and pretensions, went to war, with no weapons but full of courage and honor to defeat the worst unloyalty, false and traitor enemy. Spaniards took ships full of treasures, but not all the ships were able to make it, some of them drawn somewhere on their way to Europe. Why? It was caused by the heavy-weight gold. After that fight, of course, a huge number of Spaniards died, and the ones who survived, some took the gold and left, and other ones hid it after being defeated, but stay to figure out and retry to acquire everything else they could and retaliate. Moctezuma the emperor ended up dying, and the story has 2 versions of it. In Mexico's history it says that he was killed by Hernan Cortez because he toughs that Moctezuma was not necessary anymore, since his people lose respect for him. In Spain's history version was that Aztecs killed him for being soft and weak. Of course, it's not difficult to figure who did it. Just do the math. And after Moctezuma's death, a great prospect was ready and trained. The brave and honored men, the last emperor. Cuauhtémoc, the best and strongly physical and mentally controlled warrior. Cuauhtémoc was the one who took possession of the throne, and things were not easy, but got worse for the Spaniards. He was not manipulable at all, and neither a soft guy. But with the lack of the weapons, he was sharing the same huge war issue as Moctezuma's, the former emperor. The Spaniards once again compelled the people to surrender and relinquish all valuables, taking for granted that Cuauhtémoc would cooperate. However, judging by his demeanor, they soon realized cooperation was never going to happen. Cuauhtémoc suffered martyrdom in various forms. His feet were burned, ultimately leading to their loss. The Spaniards also hanged him, resulting in his death along with that of other indigenous leaders. However, he never disclosed the location of the remaining gold, and the treasure remained undiscovered. Cuauhtémoc ensured that his people removed the gold and transported it to a distant location well before this event. Cuauhtémoc's honor was irrevocable, and his promises were always held as true and memorable. He understood the profound ancestral significance that the treasure held for his people, which was beyond description. The gold Hernan Cortez seized was not the entirety. Silently, thousands had been ordered days prior to journey and secrete it afar, awaiting further instructions from Cuauhtémoc. Some of the Aztec treasure has been discovered over time and has become part of the nation's heritage, while the gold that was taken out remains hidden where Cuauhtémoc sent it, leaving no trace of its whereabouts. Mexico is rich in numerous natural aspects, but the most significant is that its wealth was granted by God, not taken by force. The Catholic religion and its preaching achieved success through the efforts of the assigned priests. However, it was evident to all that the Ten Commandments held no significance for Cortés and his soldiers. Malinche was a witness to injustices, murders, rape and disrespect toward the professed religion. She saw how the Spaniards introduced diseases that led to the death of thousands and observed disloyalty, dishonor and betrayals. For her, the most grievous was being deceived and cruelly manipulated by Cortés. Her heart was completely shattered, and she would spend the rest of her days questioning whether everything she had done was worth it. She knew that for her people everything was turning bad. She knew as well that Cortés used her. During their time together, she was her confidant. She was in love with him and got a son together, and also his interpreter. Over time, she discovered that Cortés had discussions about 2 other Spaniards who came before him, and they exposed to Cortés that Aztec indigenous possessed enormous treasures, but they never got insights or got infiltrated to find or figure where the gold was located. Malinche was disillusioned upon discovering that Cortés had a master plan to seize gold for the Spanish crown, and of course, to emerge as a hero. Hernán Cortés was expecting to be compensated with a high novel title and take control over Spain as well. She also finds out that he was married and had another family. She didn't have a lot of options after all this. It was perfectly clear that he had used her with no limit at all. His greed went hand in hand with lies. La Malinche was devastated and knew her mistakes, but when he reclute her, it was the only way she could take to get out of slavery, or by then maybe be killed already. When she discovered all this information, it was already too late. She was played and framed by a heartless and ambitious man. What kept her going was her son and the determination to protect him as any mother would. Regarding the Mexican Aztec stolen assets, Spain has not returned any of them. Some speculate that they have invented an unknown religion to absolve themselves of their sins and the atrocities committed. This story had a happy ending? Not at all. Thank you for watching, and feel free to apply your own judgment.